What's going on, traders? Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Want to do a recap for the S&P 500, the Spider ETF. See what to look forward to in the front half of the week, or what to potentially expect, and some areas that we may want to engage the market and manage our risk. Of course, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. No way should be viewed as financial advice. So let's take a quick look here at the economic calendar before we get things rolling. And I'm happy to say that we have gone through the gauntlet with the Fed speakers last week. They are now in a blackout period, so that is a good thing. First major thing, Thursday, we have a couple of things I want to keep an eye on. GDP at 8:30, initial jobless claims at the same time. So we will be watching as that data comes out. And then Friday on the 27th, we do have PCE coming out at 8:30 as well. So I want to pay attention to those specifically as potential market movers. Other than that, looks pretty light as far as news, so I am happy to report that. All right, now let's get into some charts now as we look ahead at next week. And we're going to start off with the weekly here. Very ugly candle. Let's, what can we take away from this candle here? Now we have a pretty full-bodied red candle with the attempt from the bulls to push us up higher, but as you can see by the wick here, failure to accept, and we closed at the bottom of this range that we've been trading at the bottom of the candle. So not a pretty picture there, but I would caution about being a new money short as we come in to repair this structure here by these last week's low, or the week of the 2nd, the start of October's lows. So I will be very careful here. I'm not rushing into anything short. If anything, my bias would be for a slight bounce, maybe Monday and Tuesday, but I would say also mostly potential consolidation and chop as we look for acceptance now within this new range back here towards these monthly lows, right? But as far as the trend sequence is considered, we had our swing high. We've been watching this, right? Another lower high here. We had our swing low and another one, and now our first target is going to be those equal lows, but eventually we're going to be looking for a new lower low to be put in. That really hasn't been done yet, right? So we will keep an eye on that, but I think we're going to take a look at the daily chart now very quickly, and we'll see where we could possibly come up and retrace to. It's anybody's guess how strong that retracement will be. I'm not expecting much, but we'll look at some other evidence here where we may want to look to the other side, and then of course flip back short, right? Because we want to ride with the current. But just from this weekly view, we're getting very close to the 38.2 here, right around 417, and that's going to be the top of that consolidation that we have been watching from springtime, right? We've talked about that for a while here. And we've been talking about that for anywhere between that 415 and that 410 ultimate target that kind of going to be eyeballing in as long as this trend does continue. One thing though that we do want to point out, we aren't quite there yet, but the Momo's starting to get almost on this weekly, starting to get into that over oversold territory, not quite there, but I'm going to keep an eye on this. We're at negative 8 basically now. Of course, it can go all the way down to 14 and 11, so there's certainly more room that it can go, but we will keep an eye on that as that develops. All right, so let's just go into the daily chart here. And okay, and you can see here where still on the weekly, sorry. Okay, so you can see here when we tried to recapture, and we're back right into this accumulation period, right? And we were talking also about that thin structure that had been created on this way up. Well, we could also kind of make the case for the thin structure now being created on the way down. But you can see now we're in this area, which caused the structure change in the market, pushing us up higher. So again, as far as from the risk to reward perspective, do we really want to be a new money short down here by these lows? The answer is probably not. That's not going to be what you really want to be doing. Now, as far as that potential retrace, right? I like to look, and we've been over this before, we look at either a 25% retracement or a 50% retracement of the last daily candles range. We've had 3 days down red as well. So, statistically speaking, it's unlikely that we will get another red day. Now, of course, anything can happen. There is variance, but after such selling pressure, it just really would not surprise me. But either way, I still am going to be very cautious. Monday's, again, my least favorite day to trade, but I will be very cautious about chasing new money shorts down in this area. I do still think we have some structure that we need to repair, unfinished business in this area, but we're pretty much trying to work it out. And we'll see. But a 25% retracement thereabouts, we're going to be about probably 423 or so, and 50% is going to be around maybe 424, 423.75 thereabouts. So we'll see how high we get, but again, wait for, if you're not interested in that counter trend trade, just wait for it to come up in a little bit, and then we'll look at some areas where we could see that short trade present itself. But as long as we stay below that 50% of yesterday's range, then we will look for more downside. But if we do get over, we can potentially look at a little bit of a further retracement to the upside. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at some other charts here. And what can we take away from those views? We've been over our 2 fibs here. I guess the only thing I will say from this fib view, though, if we do start sweeping these monthly lows, then ultimately we're going to come into that next target. My first major target that we've been talking about since we've been trading up here is going to be that 415, and then we've already talked about the 410, right? So we've been over those levels, and let's see if in fact we do get them anywhere in between that range. Maybe even we get 411, totally possible as well. Oh, this was the wrong one, sorry. Where are we here? Okay, here we are. All right. So here are our monthly lows. Pretty much we are right there. This is our trend channel that we have been watching for some time now. And we have broken out of it, but coming now into those monthly lows. So again, be careful. They kind of also line up with this high from last August a year ago there. So, a couple of points there that we just want to be mindful of, as well as the May highs, May 15th. So 3 points of contact that we also showing us to be very careful with the short and wait for some type of a counter trend move first, or that also may be the more likely scenario. Now, I'm not talking about a rally like we saw, over the last 2 weeks. I'm not talking about that, but we are going to be talking about at least, maybe a 50%, we'll take it one step at a time, but 25, 50. And, even we could even retrace if we wanted to look at it from this point of view. Okay, hold on. If we wanted to make, it's all fractals, right? Even if we wanted to take these 3 last selling days, we could even do a 25% of that, and that's going to be 50% of this one, and then we'll look for here, and that's going to be 50% of this range. So 50% of the entire move down might bring us back up to 428 or something like that. So we could see, again, this is a speculation, but possible, and I don't know if it's going to be that steep, but just as an example, if we do build up, even a back test of this trend line at some point, it's going to still be a lower high to bring us back down lower once again. So, but that's, 430, so I don't know, if we're going to get that high. I don't think we will, but it wouldn't surprise me, that, something like that wouldn't surprise me either. I don't know. It's very possible too, just from a bigger perspective. Who knows? Maybe we just trade in this range for a while. At varying levels, as we look for acceptance down here. But we shall see. All right. The other thing I guess I wanted to point out: look at the selling volume over these last few days that we've really had. Just super strong selling volume coming into the markets. There's not a buyer to be found, and look how strong it was. Compared to the volume that we had been seeing. So increasing selling volume through each, but that doesn't mean that we can't see a move in the other direction for a few days. I personally think that, we're going to see a little bit of chop as we're looking to accept down here. And again, we've had, a huge move here from this area that we've already traded in. So, it's to me, it's likely to see some type of a possible bounce. All right, let's take a look at some other. And maybe that's Monday. Maybe it's Monday and Tuesday. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we turn around. We shall see. What can we take away from our other daily perspective that we have been watching? Well, coming up again to this big area here. Here's some areas here. Look, if it comes up to that 424, bigger picture perspective though, creating another lower high, and then we look to actually create that new lower low coming into there around that 416.50 area. So there's a setup that potentially may evolve for a short trade. A swing trade there. So something to watch out for. And I guess if I was to take this trade, maybe I would hit the 415s. I don't know if we'll bounce here or not. We could then bounce up here and then we continue like that. So the maybe even the 410s could work. It just depends. But I would do it at least a month out. Obviously being a swing trade. So, all right. Let's see what other charts we want to peek out here. Let's look at the downtrends that we have been watching, and from here we've got a little bit more room to the downside before we see anything further from this viewpoint. Trying to see here if I missed one. No, I'm pretty comfortable with that. So really nothing from this view here. Okay. Anything from this view? Doesn't look like it. Here I gotta, no, we're breaking all those, so I gotta do that. Okay, I think that's all I've got for the bigger picture charts right now. Let's take a look at the internals um, from Friday. Of course, we were trending. We weren't in the trend lower, but we were obviously in the negative territory, never above zero the whole time. But we didn't get into that negative 5,000 or that negative 1,500 like we normally do for a true trend. But the outflows here in the VLD just getting crushed, the strongest down sell volume that we've seen this whole week came in on Friday, and of course all the sectors were red as well. But that's still pointing in weakness overall in the market here with the VOLD being that strong. Let's see what they open up, if they can even hope to stay above zero on Monday. And if they can, maybe we can see a little bit of that counter trend trade just for 1 or 2 days maybe. And really, honestly, I meant to swing some Friday calls over the weekend, but I did not. So we'll see on that one if I'm going to be kicking myself. All right. Okay, so let's look at some other charts before we get into some stuff for Monday. Let's take a look at the put-call ratio as well as the VIX. We've still held over the 15, over 1575 the whole time, pushing up higher here. Now, we are firmly pretty much about $1 above 20. We closed at what is this, 21.71. So a decent close above 20 here. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row coming up. It would be logical to me to think we would get a little bit of a pullback here to continue the trend. We have our subsequent, we have our swing low. Higher low, higher low, higher. Now we need to make another one, in my opinion. If we come down anywhere into the 1920 area, I think that would make sense from a trend sequence perspective. And then we continue potentially up to this 2360 area, 24 potentially, and we go back here and we just take a look. And we've had some issues in that area as well, so we may be heading there on the VIX, but I would tend to think that we're going to pull back a little bit and then continue the trend. So we shall see on that, but you could also make a case that we're really seeing a kind of a head and shoulder, an inverted head and shoulders a breakout here, that 20 area kind of being the neckline. It's not, of course, the cleanest, but you can kind of get that sense like this. And then this was our neckline, and now we have finally pushed through, right? So the put-call ratio, though, has really calmed down. It's not as extreme as I thought it was going to be. When I looked at it, you can see here as we got over that 0.15, how we had that huge snapback. This was what gave us that counter trend rally. A few for the last 2 weeks before we started selling off this week, but we are still below that area now, slightly elevated for sure, above 1, but nothing too extreme. We're going to keep an eye on this to see once we get back over that 1.5. I mean, it certainly can raise higher as we've seen before, but we will monitor this. But the fact that this isn't back over that level tells me, at least, although we may see some type of a small bounce that last 1, 2, 3 days, maybe 2 days, we're not in any extremes that are telling me, okay, we really need to be careful on the short, and then we might see a significant move in the other direction from this viewpoint, right? Okay, so now let's dig a little bit deeper on the VIX and take a look at some internals here. Futures on VIX. we are now actually over the zero line, so we are in backwardation. We are no longer in contango here, and this is really showing us now that we have a further risk to the upside in the near term, and being above zero is not really what big institutions want to see to start allocating new funds in any sort of real way. So although we are not really totally convincingly over the zero line, we do want to keep an eye on this as it as the first couple of days in the week start off, and see if we actually hold above this. The VIX 9-day versus monthly is kind of curling down a little bit. That's a little interesting to me. Not too much motion here. Ideally, though, the bears probably would want to see a little bit higher there. But for the VVIX here, volatility of the volatility, we've been talking about that 103, 105 area. We were starting to see it start to pop above, giving us some warning signals that further volatility would be coming into the markets, and we did get that, a pretty convincing close now over that 105, 103 area. So let's see if this stays over that. If it does, likely to come into this 125 zone, and that really will bring the markets down quite a bit more, and maybe we get that final capitulation move, and then start to look at potential trades in the other direction on a bit of a longer term viewpoint. Because remember, what's actually really happening here, if we start to zoom out, and let's just come back into the weekly perspective really quickly. We were already looking at this. Now, there's always trends within trends and things like that. We are obviously in this current downtrend that we have been watching on the bigger picture, right? And but what is also actually, we were talking about coming into this zone, right? And why this area, maybe even a little bit lower. We're really looking for that back test, right, of, and I'm just going to, I'll just put it out up in this area, a back test of this kind of inverted head and shoulders that gave us this breakout for the summer. And so structurally speaking, we're coming back in to test that bigger picture breakout. Now, if we look from this view, what's going on? We've got our swing low here, another one here, another one here, potentially anywhere in this area, and really setting us up for another higher low from this view, and maybe we get that bigger picture move now to continue up in this direction. Now, of course, the bulls have a lot of work to do. We've got to break over this trend line. We've got a lot of macro headwinds and things like this, but just another way to look at it of what's really going on here, just retesting this bigger picture breakout, coming back into that accumulation zone, and then maybe if we are down here, put to calls looking, very spicy. We've seen that, the VVIX and some other things, at extremes. Where we might start to think, okay, now things are lining up. We're going to start to look a little bit more contrarian, and we'll see. The other thing is, as I already mentioned, Momo's not quite there yet on the weekly, but we'll keep an eye on that. So if we start to come down, I'm sure it's going to start to get into those interesting areas where we could see bigger moves in the opposite direction, but not quite yet. Not quite yet. All right, so let's go into some of our other internals here, and we are going to take a quick look at the market breadth here, new highs versus new lows, not even barely over the zero line. Okay, so breadth is looking pretty bad here. And we're at that negative 400 basically. And I would not now, you can see here back in last July, we did have some reactions in this area here before. We've just plummeted here, would it be crazy to think that we come back and maybe test negative 250 and then resume the moves down like this? Okay, that does not seem unreasonable to me as a potentiality. But, it's going to be tough from the breadth perspective to really think about us moving in any significant way back to the upside unless we really recapture that this 250 to negative 200 area. And then ultimately, of course, we've got to get back over the zero line, right? All right, what else do we have here? Okay. Let's take a look at our percentages of stocks trading over there, 50 and 200. We've lost that 36 here on the 200 period moving averages. Only 31% of stocks trading over the 200 right now, so pretty weak right here. Do we see a little bit of a back test of 36 before making a move continue lower? That's possible, so watch out for that. But just not looking very good. Gotta at least recapture that 36.40 for any potential hope of a more significant move to the upside. So everything from this perspective still looking pretty crummy. I don't know from the amount of stocks trading under their over their 50-day moving average, only at about 17-18%. We could see a little push up to a little bit here and then just continue along our way, but we will keep an eye as we get more into the extreme levels. Down here we can see the moves. We've already been over that when we were kind of trading down here before, but maybe we've got a little bit more room to go, and then we can start talking about a bigger move in the other way. Let's see if these lows down here actually line up with the retest of that prior breakout, and if we get those signals, then we can potentially have enough evidence that might support a bigger move to the other way. But nothing there yet. We'll monitor this. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to go over from this perspective. All right, let's get back into some other charts here as we move along. What's the dollar doing? Let's take a look. All right, so the dollar. Not too much really happening in dollar land. We're still hanging out. We were talking about the potentiality of just kind of hanging out, right, in this area, not really making a move. It seems to be the case so far. Dollar tried to push up, didn't really get to that 107 level yet. So just hanging out. I mean, I guess, we can make a case that it did make a lower, from the swing high. It didn't get as high as last week. That was 106.76. And I gotta move my mouse pad here to hurt my wrist. The high this week was, hold on, this was 106.78. This was 106.67. So just slightly lower, but still cleanly trading above the 105.85 zone. So until that breaks down, nothing really going on here from that view. Probably looking just for more consolidation for now. We were talking about that potentiality, so we shall see what happens. All right, let's look at TNX really quickly. What's going on there? We did get a move to the upside, just briefly, almost hitting 5% there. Oh my God. And but pulling back right now, this potentially could be, did we actually, no, we didn't get over. So we'll see if this pulls back under 49, maybe a potential fake break, and we can come back down and kind of come back into hanging out between 49 and 48. and just go sideways like the dollar is. Just looking at the daily though, we did close above that 49. So what's the low? Was 48.92. So let's see if we start getting back under 48.92, and then maybe we can hang out on this little bit of area here. But let me just throw this up. I'm gonna put this in that one. I'm gonna give that. We'll watch as well as if we stay above this 48.62 zone. So if we start to get below that, I think we could have a little bit more of a cool down, but until then, we'll see. We'll see if this actually holds up here. For all we know, maybe we just hang out here above 49. But it would be a little bit healthier for that any sort of a bounce in equities if we got back below this 49. We'll see though. But nothing really too bearish here. We'll keep an eye. Starting to get looking a little bit oversold. Not quite there yet. Definitely there on the. Definitely extremely elevated on the weekly. So, but it has just not wanted to cool down in any significant way. Okay, let's take a look at some of our day trading fib levels. Now we've got our swing lows that we're monitoring here around that 420, 423 area. I'm gonna watch, for a potential. What happened to my one level here? Okay. I'm gonna watch for a potential fake break. Maybe we do open up below 420, recapture, and then start to make a move back in the other direction. That is one thing I'll be watching out for on Monday. Really, again, I think that we are in for a little bit more of that choppy price delivery over the next couple of sessions as we look to find that acceptance. So, we could trade like this. This would be, the most bearish scenario if we can't get back over 423, 2550 area. But if we do, we can look for a little bit more of a retracement. Maybe back to the top of Friday's highs. Still bearish though, but we'll use this. I'm gonna, from this view, probably using that 423.50, 425 area as a little bit of a marker of how, how much of a retracement we may get. So, there is that chance if we do recapture, and really maybe even 424, that we can see trades back up into 425.50, maybe 426 up into this area. I wouldn't even, be shocked if we got, stuffed maybe right at the opening price at these pre-market lows. But we'll see how we open up on Monday. If we open up below Friday's close or above, and that also will help give us a little bit of a frame of reference of what we might want to do. But either way, right around that 420 whole number, be very cautious. So it's likely to see a possible fake breaks and recaptures. Besides the fact that, again, we've had just so many 3 days now of complete selling, more likely to see chop, or at least maybe technically a counter trend move back down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Type of choppy price action. So you don't want to get caught in a fake break, recapture, coming back up, coming back down, fake break, killing some shorts there, chasing or killing some longs, trapping some shorts, and all this type of behavior. So this is why we don't chase those breakouts, right? All right. let's I guess we'll say if we do start to get back above Friday highs, really start accepting over 426 50 thereabouts, okay, then we can look for bigger moves into maybe 428 and maybe into these lows here around 428.50 as well, and maybe closer to that 429 area. All right, let me actually just change this. Fine enough, because those are all white. There we go. All right. Oh boy. Okay. So we're at this big key area here where, right at our half gap of this balance zone, pretty much right at those lows. So the same thing is why I'm going to be very cautious here. If we open below, okay, yeah, we'll look for, I mean, for me, again, that 420 area is going to be big. We want to obviously watch that, but I just don't know how much more downside that it's going to actually propel before having to put in another higher lower high, excuse me. So if we are opening up above 420 75 421, I'll probably be looking for the long trade. I'll be looking for trades to come back up. Probably would take at the money calls and look for potential trades back up into 422, 422, 45, 50 area. If we can get over, we'll look for a couple of a little bit higher up into that 423 as we already discussed. It could just get stuffed here at that 422, 75, 45. So watch out for that as well. Or we could get stuffed here and make our move all the way back down. But remember, of course, it can trade up to here, come back in, actually hold and support this area, and then go for a bigger retracement move back up. Okay, so a couple of paths there that we could potentially take, and then that's why, of course, we take profits along the way in whichever trade that we go. Even if we came up here, bounced from here, right, we could even see this, right? Okay, for a bullish scenario, we come up, we break, come back down, and instead of bouncing, right, we bounce, but then we double top and we do an M pattern and come like that. So that's another scenario as well. And I do think that, again, I'm going to be watching out for that choppy price action, and I don't know how far, what the range is going to be exactly, to start to put in for the week. So I like to kind of take it easy Monday and Tuesday. At least if Monday we have 1 day's range to kind of go off of. But we were talking about that choppy price action, so is this going to be the range? I don't know, but we want to watch out for that, right? Now, if we start to actually accept back over 423, okay, then we can look for bigger moves. If internals are looking okay and we're hanging out up here, all right, that's a little bit of a better signal for a long trade up into 424 and 424.40 area, right? And okay, sure, could be a counter trend shade at that point, trying to join in for that lower high. So, but if we do get over 424, then we'll be looking to trade back up into Friday's pretty much open. We might get stuffed at 425, so we'll keep an eye on that. Those are basically Friday's pre-market lows, somewhere in that area. Maybe we get up into the little bit higher, 30 cents, 40 cents more. But if we come back into 425, 75, we'll call it 426, 426.35. Short opportunities in that area as well for moves, like this potentially, TP, TP, TP. But as we went over, of course, before, we don't know if this happens. And that's why we start to take profits, along the way, because we don't know if that's going to be the scenario. Quite a range, though. So, anyway, all right, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over for this video. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Thank you so much for the all my listeners and subscribers for joining me preparing for the market this week. Hope this helps you, and remember, a prepared trader is a profitable trader. So let's plan our trades and trade our plans. I hope, again, you have a great Sunday and rest of the weekend, relaxing. Take some time to get your levels all set for next week, and we'll see you on Monday. All right, take care.